Welcome back, folks, to Rapid Fire Elite, and today we'll cover the Strv S1 prototype. So this is going to be a premium tier 8 Swedish tank destroyer. It's the initial prototype to the S-Tank, the Strv 103. Now funny enough, this vehicle is actually already in the game. It's already in your 9.17 res folder, so it could appear tomorrow in the premium shop, and that would be a huge surprise. Or it could be like the Krabsteier Waffenträger and get stuck for about 2 years, so who knows. Now, I already covered the history behind the S-Tank as well as the Kranvan to the death with the 0 series as well as the B series leak videos. So I'll try to re-review the history as quickly as I humanly could, but there's a timestamp in the description below to skip to the stats. So what is the Strv S1? Well, it's one of the 3 initial projects the Swedes were trying out to replace the M42. So they look at the Kranvan, it was a failure because the ammo and the turret did not work. So the Kranvan was scrapped, but they still want a domestically produced or designed main battle tank. So they had 3 alternatives. The first one was called the VIII project, which was based off American/British designs with 120mm, more armor, larger silhouette, so it was similar to the M103s or the Conqueror. The second project was called the T series, which was based off German/French designs with less armor, more mobility, and 105mm, so it was based off the Leopard 1 and the AMX 30 series. And the last one was their own S series. So at that time they thought, we will be defending Sweden from mostly the Soviets, and the vehicles should be dug into the earth and shooting hull down. So no need for a turret. And at that time, in the middle of the 1950s, gun stabilization wasn't great. It was terrible. So mostly tanks would have to slow down and stop to shoot correctly and aim. So the Swedes thought, yeah, let's not use a turret. So they designed a sloped, turretless fighting vehicle, or main battle tank, as they would like to call it. So designed by Mr. Sven Berge, right here. He would have the gun onto the hull, so the driver would move the hull to aim the gun. And they test this concept on the Kranvan. It worked. Or the Kranvan chassis. It worked. They liked it with the hydropneumatic suspension. It was pretty low in terms of silhouette, so small target, and it has pretty well sloped frontal armor. So pretty good, right? So they liked the idea. They move on to the S1 and the S2 prototypes. The prototypes worked out pretty well. Then they move on to the 0 series, and then the A series, the B series, the C series, and then the Leopard 2 A5. So that's basically the history behind the S-Tank in the quick nutshell of the vehicle. So here you can see the stats of the initial design for the S-Tank. So about 30 to 40mm, slope highly at about 12 degrees. They were using the British 20-pounder for the testing. Then for the actual model, it's 105 autoloader. So crew of 3, commander, driver, radio operator. You already know. So about 15 horsepower per ton ratio with 2 engines. One is diesel, one is a turbine. So diesel is for the aiming of the gun, and the turbine is for the moving of the hull with the diesel engine, of course. That's pretty much the history. So here you can see the initial 3 different projects. So you have the Strv 81, which was the supplement of the Centurions. Then you have the A series, which was based on American/British, the T series, which was based off the Germans/French, and the S series, which was based off their own design. So that's the initial 3 projects. The S series were chosen. That led to the S1 and the S2 prototypes. So you already know this. So usually they use different hulls to test out the mechanics before the actual production of the vehicle. So they took the Kranvan chassis, removed 2 road wheels, and tested the hydrodynamic suspension with the British 20-pounder. They test the same thing on the IKV-103 and the Sherman tank. So, yep, it works. They liked it. Now, funny enough, the S1 is actually a metal box with the hydropneumatic suspension and a commander cupola to see if the commander would see with the shifting of the hull, and if the shifting of the hull would work with the chassis they were building. It does work, but the S1 is actually a paper tank, or a model right here. It was never a full design with a gun/engine vehicle. So if you want to be technical, the S1 would be this vehicle right here. It's a box. But the S2 is actually the vehicle we're currently looking at in the game. So they built the S2, had the metal hull and the gun and the engine, all the good stuff. They test out the S2, it works pretty well. Then move on to the 0 series, which was the pre-production model for field testing, actual field live fire simulations and other stuff. Liked it. They up-armored, increased the engine power, shifted stuff around. That became the A series, and then the B series was a modification of the engine power even more, and the suspension for more depression and elevation. The C series was adding the grill, the grid, fence, whatever you want to call it, and the fuel tanks to the sides. C series, and then the D series was a over modification with reactive armor, but that never actually mass produced, which led to the Leopard 2 A5, the STRV 10 something. I forgot a number. Oh, damn it. STRV 108? I don't know. Forgot the number for the Leopard 2 A5s the Swedes were using. I have to look that up. It's only been 2 months. My memory sucks. Oh, 115, I believe. 115 or 116 for the STRV Leopard 2 A5. Oh well. So here are the in-game models for the S1 prototype. It's a skateboard ramp, even more so than the IS-6. So you could actually wedge somebody and flip them over if you drive hard enough. So that's pretty fun. It's already in your game. You can also check this out with mods, but it's different to script, I guess. So yeah, looks pretty nice, I guess. I wish there was a window right here. It's not. It's just flat metal sheet right here. It's 30mm, and it's a Troyish space armor right here. So you'll see with the collision model. It's a small target. Very small. It's like the UDES 03. So here are the collision models, as well as the main armor. So as I said, it's already in the game, so it's in Tank Inspector. Now what's funny is, like, a half of the frontal armor is space armor. So this part, space armor, 30mm, nothing behind it. Same goes for the both sides. So if you shoot at these parts of the vehicle, it does nothing, like no damage. Critical hit, no damage. So now it's well sloped 30mm, so it will bounce if the caliber of your opponents is about 88mm or less. So for example, the Panther II use a 88mm. Same goes for Centurions, which use 84mm. That's a 20-pounder. Yeah. So if you're facing lower tier vehicles, they will auto bounce on the 30mm of armor because it's super well sloped. But if you're facing like 105s, 120s, don't even think about it. They'll automatically penetrate, negate the armor sloping because the 3 caliber rule. So you could throw a few shots, but if it's a 100mm gun, your armor means nothing. Only 50mm effective. So any more higher calibers just easily penetrate, no question about it. So armor is trollish against 75mm, 88s, 84s, 85s. Yeah, it's okay. It's a tank destroyer. You're not supposed to get hit. You're pretty you're stealthy. You're not supposed to get hit, right? So here are the main stats. 288mm of pen. That's pretty good, but it's APCR, so only 2 degrees of normalization, whereas APs have 5 degrees. So still aim your shots, but 288 for tier 8, that's the highest penetration. Still, I would prefer the ISU's 152 because that's 286 with AP shells. So that could actually penetrate more if it hits. But this vehicle should be a little bit more accurate with the siege mode. You switch into siege mode, then you start sniping, right? DPM is average actually, so it's better than the UDES 03. Alpha is below average, so you already know this. Same alpha goes for tier 9 as well as tier 10, so it's like a medium tanks gun at high tiers, but 50 rounds, that's great compared to the chair tier, which is like 30 rounds with 105. Ugh. So high shell velocity, and yeah, sniping gun. But here is the non-siege mode stats, so you should not use these. Now, did they change the accuracy? And I think they did for aim time. So when you go into siege mode, you should have a lot better accuracy and aim time, so it does not get displayed with Tank Inspector. Hull traverse is only 26 degrees per second, so it's about average, but the average tank destroyers at tier 8 is like assault guns with the T-28s, the Ferdinand, and Yak Tiger, I wish. The Yak Panther 2, both are assault guns, like the ISU, so mostly below average traverse, but 26 is still alright. Horsepower per turn ratio is about 17, so more like the Centurions. It's alright, but don't be expecting that this vehicle is just as fast as the UDES 03. Top speed is 50, reverse is 45, so like the S-Tanks, pretty decent. Now here is the kicker. Terrain resistance is pretty bad. 1.342 for hard, 1.438 for medium, and 4.5-ish for soft. That's actually worse than the average tier 8 heavy tanks. So you will get bogged down. So don't drive through swamps or dirt mostly. Health is below average, so just don't take a hit. I mean, it's only 10 less than the Romtail Borsig. No, wait, scratch that. 100 less than the Romtail Borsig, and 50 less than the ISU. So one of them is 110. I forget which one. Maybe the French with the AMX AC something. Nobody plays. So view range is low, 350. So be warned. It's 20 less than the S-Tank, I believe, but radio range is superfluous, so very good radio, and it's very stealthy, like a Hellcat. So it's a sniping tank destroyer, and just don't get hit. I mean, don't get spotted. That's what you should do with the S-Tank. So I want to compare some of the stats, and let's compare with the UDES just to be sure. So here you can see with the UDES comparison, it has a lot better DPM. A little bit better dispersion too. I mean, I don't know if the dispersion stats change with the siege mode, but with the regular mode, it's like half of the UDES dispersion. So if it's still true for the actual siege mode, then these stats are pretty cray-cray for the dispersion, but accuracy should be like a lot better in siege mode, but you're not supposed to be shooting without moving with stopping of the hull, not with moving of the hull. Can't talk. So you're not fast. This vehicle is not as fast as the UDES 03. So about 26.37. Holy crap, that's fast. And top speed is not as fast. Reverse is also not that good. And terrain resistance, I did not know the UDES has such a poopy terrain resistance as well, but it's counterbalanced by the high horsepower per turn ratio. So same health and same view range, but not as good camo. So you do have a little bit more armor than the UDES because it's 30mm rather than 20. So here's the UDES. It's 20. So you'll get overmatched by 60mm guns or above. So that's a lot of guns. But the only thing that could bounce this thing will auto bounce is like 57mm. So it has a lot more armor, a lot more troll-ish armor than the UDES. So it's crazy how 20mm to 30mm is such a big change, but that's the deal. So I want to do another comparison, just real quick. So here is the heavy tanks at tier 8, and let's compare the average stats to the heavy tanks. And here you can see it has worse terrain resistance than the average heavy tanks at tier 8. This is a tank destroyer that weighs only 33 tons, half of the heavy tanks, but nope, it will get bogged down. So that's pretty funny. So here is the comparison between a whole bunch of other tank destroyers at tier 8, and it mostly has about the same mobility as the Rumtail Scorpion Waffenträger. About the same. I mean, there are a few differences, but terrain resistance averages about the same. Same goes for the horsepower per ton ratio, and mostly for the same top speed with 10 less kilometers per hour. So, I mean, you have more armor than the Scorpion. So, pause the video, pause the screen to take a look, but that's the average comparison. So, yeah, the Charioteer has only 30 rounds, I believe. No ammo. So here are the final thoughts and opinions about the Strv S1. So shouldn't it be introduced before the release of the Swedes for crew training? But nope. So oh well. Now it has the siege mode, so that's the plus for this vehicle. You can go into siege mode and start sniping with pretty good accuracy at aim time, or like almost no aim time. Shell velocity is high, top speed forwards and backwards. It has amazing camo and penetration for a tier 8, and the alpha is a little bit low. Health is also a little bit low. View range, terrain resistance, yada yada. So it's a sniping tank destroyer. It's not an assault gun like the T-28 prototypes or the Ferdinands. Don't go brawly with this vehicle. It's not meant to do that. So it's the same as the 0 series as well as the B series. You already know this, so plays the same. But it's somewhat similar to the mobility of the Rumtail Scorpion Waffenträger, and that's the current hotcake for the premium tier 8 TD spot. So you should feel pretty much the same with this vehicle if you already play with the Scorpion, but basically a premium version of the UDES 03 that trades mobility and gun elevation for premium status, armor, DPM, and better dispersion. What's not to like? So should be played a little bit more passively and more campy than the UDES 03, even though they both should be played about the same. So this vehicle is not as fast as the UDES, so don't go active scouting with this vehicle, even though you shouldn't. But the UDES could do it, technically. So the armor is somewhat trollish, so you'll troll 88mm or below. And it has large space armor on the sides, so troll spots, but it's blind, so you do need a good spotter, and it's a little bit slow to go through swamps and rough terrains, so be careful. Like the middle of, what's that map called? Totally forgot the name. It's a bunch of ridge on the bottom. Yeah, so I don't even know. Names are hard. So, or Mananovka, there's a bunch of swamp in the middle of Mananovka too, so yeah, just don't go through it. Now for training of low to mid tier Swedish tank destroyers. So it's the same crew layout as the high tier siege mode Swedish TDs. So there's no gunner, there's no loader. It does not train them in this vehicle. So you can only train the commander and the driver, and that's it. So it's not for a lower tier Swedish trainer, if you will, tank destroyer trainer. Also, it's a nice practice tool though. It's a premium status siege mode vehicle, so you don't get punished for just being killed in the first 2 minutes of the match. So that's good, and you can get more credits and crew XP too. Also, siege mode is of a higher skill cap. I already talked a lot about this, but siege mode requires team composition knowledge, map awareness, map analyzation, and a whole bunch of other stuff like camouflage mechanics, understanding of the camo mechanics, the view range mechanics, the penetration mechanics, all the stuff. So it's a high skill cap vehicle. So be warned, I mean, don't invest unless you are dedicated to this vehicle or to the siege mode. Also, don't forget about town maps. Town maps are still a thing. So you play this vehicle, oh, first match, preferential matchmaking for the first match. You're top tier, obviously. You get Stalingrad or Kharkov. Son of a... So city maps is still a thing, and just be warned, obviously. So is it worth it? Well, I think it's good if it's about the same view range, the same price range as the Super Pershing or the Revalorise. So those are the cheapest tier 8 premiums, which is about 7,000 gold or about 30 bucks, 30 USD or 39 USD. I don't know, but it's a little bit iffy on the higher end, like the T-34-3s or the heavy tanks with about 10,000 gold. So those are usually 45 to 50 USD. So that's a little bit iffy, but if you're dedicated, it's not that bad. So siege mode is an acquired taste and not for everybody. So I mean, it's a pretty hard skill cap to switch in and switch out. So just be warned. But yeah, pretty nice. Also, I forgot to mention, this thing switched faster than the UDES out of the siege mode. So 1.5 seconds compared to 2 seconds. Just remember that, but it's a little bit faster. Like a half a second, Sam. Ugh. So yeah, it's not bad. It's fine. But I thought it would be funny if they actually would use the Cram-1 chassis with the 20-pounder, the initial test bed for the Hydrogen Max suspension, as a premium vehicle. Or maybe this would be like a tier 7 premium. I would laugh so hard if they actually introduced that. I would find it funny and interesting if they do, but I mean, it teaches some history behind it, right? But oh well, missed opportunity. So there you go, folks. The STRV S1 prototype. The initial prototype to the S-Tank. So thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.